Hello there, I am Hema Subramaniam and thank you for joining me on Weekly Review on this very romantic day. I'm in love too, in love with money and looking for ways to accumulate wealth. If you're just like me, then there are more reasons for you to watch this show. Valentine's Day is generally considered either a chance for romantics to celebrate or an exploitative commercial venture. In Malaysia, however, Valentine's Day has been banned for Muslims since 2005. Now, an Islamic group wants to prevent non-Muslim Malaysians, around 40% of the population, from celebrating it too. The youth branch of the political party, Parti Islam Malaysia PAS, believe that the promotion of Valentine's Day encourages immoral activity. It has urged the government to put greater controls on advertising the occasion in order to curb social ills, according to the Malaysian Insider. By the way, it is a way to go for businesses. This will be a huge payday for restaurants, hotels, gift shops and for florists. Let's have a look at this story on Valentine's Day before taking a sneak peek at the headlines for the week. According to Borneo's Post, more couples are opting for fake flowers as their Valentine's Day gifts, as they last longer and do not wither. According to tailor-turned-florist Johnny Wong, this helps green up the environment as less waste is being generated. Real flowers wither fast, especially during the current dry weather. Meanwhile, the Times.com reported lovey-dovey holiday that falls on February 14 strikes many as pretentious and forced, or just as a bitter mind of a relationship gone wrong. Hence the rise of anti-Valentine's events at restaurants and bars and romantic promotions that appeal to consumers strictly for the sake of irony. According to the National Retail Federation, fewer Americans are celebrating Valentine's Day in traditional fashion with their loved ones this year. In a recent survey, 54% of American adults said they'd be celebrating the holiday in 2014, down from 60% a year ago. Among those who do celebrate Valentine's Day, many do so mainly out of a feeling of obligation. Researchers have found almost no one, it seems, names Valentine's Day as the favorite holiday of the year. And yet, due to tradition and the idea that doing nothing would be construed as an insult to one's significant other, the majority of us still play along to the joy of Hallmark, florists, candy makers and restaurants everywhere. One of the biggest days of the year for many restaurants is Valentine's Day. It is estimated that Americans spend $8 billion, yes, billion, dining out on February 14th. Just an financial year when Americans will drop another $2.5 billion on candy for Valentine's Day. No matter what type of restaurant you operate, Valentine's Day can help boost post-holiday sales.
Making the headlines today, Bursa is expected to rebound this week on upswings on Wall Street, Europe and Asian regional indices. Malaysia's trade growth is expected to grow by 5 to 6% in this year. The ringgit is forecast to make gains against the US dollar this week. Property tycoon and businessman Tan Sri Lee Kim Yew of Country Heights Holdings Berhad is said to be wanting to sell his plantation assets. The Malacca Gateway Master Plan is set to catapult the historical state into the future. UEM Sunrise and Kuala Lumpur Kepong are to jointly develop 2 property projects in Iskandar, Malaysia, generating 20 billion ringgit. British authorities have begun a probe into a report that confidential files relating to Barclays Bank customers were allegedly stolen, then sold to rogue brokers. And in New York, Wall Street rallied last Friday, giving the S&P 500 its first weekly.
Making the headlines today, KLIA2 has 90% of its fire and rescue system complete and will open on schedule, according to the DG of Fire and Rescue. Malaysia's GDP is expected to expand at a faster rate of 5.4% this year. The Employees Provident Fund says that stricter enforcement against errant employers have resulted in the rate of defaulting employers to drop to 1.21%. Sustainable Energy Development Authority Malaysia or SEDA is to get an additional of 325 million ringgit per annum for its renewable energy fund. Fraser and Neve earnings for the first quarter ending 31st December last year rose 21%. The two joint ventures between UEM Sunrise and KLK has been given the nod of approval by CIMB Research. Templeton Emerging Markets Group's Marks Mobius says that worst isn't over yet for emerging markets. Two former top traders from Goldman Sachs and Noble are reported to be starting a new hedge fund for Asia.
Making the headlines today. Foreign investors offload an aggregate 14.6 billion ringgit of stocks in 7 Asian markets. M&A Securities say that as export numbers have been very encouraging in 2013, the likely upbeat 2013 GDP may shore up trading sentiment. International Trade and Industry Minister Datuk Seri Mustafa Muhammad says that Malaysia's exports to Pakistan outweigh imports. Moody's Analytics expects Malaysia's gross domestic product data to show the economy growing at 5% year-on-year in the fourth quarter 2013 for the second straight quarter. AirAsia X suspends its services to Malay in Maldives from March 1, 2014 due to challenging business conditions. Mass Science and Enterprise licensing agreement with Adobe to introduce Adobe Marketing Cloud and Adobe Creative Cloud as part of its technology refresh. First Right posts a 3.8% improvement in earnings to 12.67 million ringgit from 12.2 million ringgit in the third quarter ending 31st December. A non-profit group NGO files a suit over a record $13 billion settlement between the US Justice Department and JP Morgan Chase. Making the headlines today, conglomerates Gamuda and IJM Corp will get most of the 400 million ringgit in compensation by the government that would have been paid by taxpayers if the toll hike was not suspended. Malaysia's GDP outperformed expectations, chalking a 5.1% growth in the fourth quarter ended December 31st, 2013. Islamic Bank has received the go-ahead from the Securities Commission to set up the subordinated Sukuk Murabahah program of up to 3 billion ringgit. Only local CKD hybrid and electric cars will benefit from the NAP's incentive program. Tambun Indah Land Berhad expects recurring income starting next year from its 43.3 hectare business park project in Simpang Ampat. Pratt & Whitney have been awarded a 10-year contract by MAS to maintain the engines of its 43 PW4-170 aircraft. Max's net profits took a dip of 23.3% for its fourth quarter ended December 31st, 2013. Toyota is recalling 1.9 million of its hybrid Prius in the US and Japan for software problems that caused the vehicle to suddenly slow down.
So, that are some of the headlines of this week on Capital Today. Bangalore is expecting exports of 5 million for Valentine's Day, up from 4 million last year. Sources from the flower industry said Valentine's Day exports from leading export regions of Western and Southern India could even reach as high as 20 million flowers this year, with an estimated value of $6.45 million, which is equivalent to 21.4 million ringgit. Indian Society of Floriculture Professionals President Praveen Sharma told the English Daily that India exported flowers worth $59 million during 2011 to 2012, a growth of 23.3% from the previous year. with projections for the revenue set to double by 2015. So time to start a flower business. Think about it. But now we are heading for a short commercial break.